สัทธาสุขีภาวัตตุโนสาธุสาธุสาธุ
This evening we are going to continue with mudita, only by doing continuously that we will discover resistance and we can work on those resistances. Resistance in many forms. As we work on them, we understand more of dukkha. We understand more of the causes of dukkha. So this method of practicing mudita is based on mindfulness, the satipatthana, and also the Four Noble Truths. This evening, the aspect I'd like to focus on is the appreciation of our colleagues, the people we have worked together, we are working together in many forms. It can be colleagues at work, colleagues in an association, or it can be people here at this university, Shan State Buddhist University. So we dedicate this session to them and to working with them. Why this is important? Because we spend quite a lot of time with our colleagues. For people who are employed in companies, in any place, ministries or anywhere, they actually spend more time at work than with their family at home. So what happens at work? The nature of their relationship at work has enormous impact on the way they lead their life, on the way they see the world. That is to say, worldview. So it's very important that we see good things in those people. What we have been working on, the 4 group, this is the 3rd group. The 3rd group. So we can deliberately look for positive things in the people we work with or we have to work with. During, for example, during a conference here at this university, you have to work with many people. You can bring them as your karuna exercise. Bring them into your mind, trying to look at the contribution of each one. Usually, if any of them doesn't perform or doesn't meet our expectation, we get irritated easily, we get disappointed easily. When you get disappointed with that person, our view on that person is dominated almost entirely by negative emotion. So we are biased towards negativity. That person needs to have a lot of good things. So it's very important that we relate to our colleagues, the people we have to work with on a long-term basis, short-term basis, and not through mudita. People fall out with each other in the world. And that's how they become enemy. If a family breaks up, if a friendship between people breaks up, that can lead to many things. And at work, when people have a negative emotion towards each other, they cannot stop thinking about that person. So they can't stop ruminating, what we say ruminating, just revisiting the old and negative incident. And the more we think about that, the more the amygdala region of our brain gets stronger and bigger. And the stronger the amygdala region of the brain becomes strengthened, the weaker the prefrontal cortex becomes. We have two wolves in our heart, a black wolf and a white wolf. And whenever we think about a person positively, even when we see their fault, then we are likely to be in a position to influence them to do better. Like Nelson Mandela writes in his biography, we lose nothing by looking at positive things in people. Often those people, they act better off what we say. But if we give them negative comments out of frustration, out of irritation, out of despise, out of superiority complex, then those people, they become threatened, they become defensive. They no longer look at what we say positively anymore. So when they no longer look at us positively, there is no way we can help them to become positive, to become better. So in order for us to manage our own stress and to cope with disappointments or negative things in people, because everybody has something negative in themselves. I do see a lot of negative things in myself, and I'm trying to improve them. But sometimes, out of frustration, we are blind to anything positive. Automatically, the mind just goes to something negative, something worrying, something anxious. So it's very important to change our brain default from the amygdala, from always fitting black wolf, thinking negative things about ourselves, other people, and the world. It's important that we relate to people through mudita. When our Buddha Gautama was an ascetic and meeting Dibangara Buddha, he became so inspired that he decided to postpone his enlightenment. He looked at Dibangara Buddha and he felt a lot of joy. He looked at the disciple monks and nuns of Dibangara Buddha, and his belief in the ability of many other people apart from the Buddha was also strengthened. Than his belief in himself. Those beliefs, they come from compassion, the authentic desire to help people, and also the belief in other people's ability. That's exactly what mudita is. The ability of people to change, to improve, to become enlightened. That's the foundation of the Buddhist teaching. We believe so much in people to the extent that we don't really need a creator anymore. So mudita, in some way, will help us sustain our positive thinking. But spend some time on yourself, on your hard work, on your good work, how you contribute to the society. We all contribute in some way to the society. And look at everyone as a contributor, as a nation builder. If they follow Sila, Samadhi and Panya, the middle way, as much as they can. And of course, you will come across resistance. Your mudita will help diagnose anything negative that is there between you and your colleagues. Now when we talk about your colleagues, we talk about immediate one and also beyond that. The immediate one, if you work for a company, the people in your company, maybe the people in your department, in your unit, they are the people you work with, so they are your immediate colleagues. So try to see something positive about them. And then look at beyond your unit, your department. And then look beyond your company. Your customers are part of this. Look at their contribution. Look at the contribution of other companies. They have the same intention to improve themselves and other people. That is why they are doing, they are working hard and doing such a a very demanding and busy work. It's the same here. We look at our classmates, we look at the residents here, to look into, to connect with their positivity. And that's not enough. We do need to connect beyond SSBU. Look at other people. And if we can do that, we will see a lot of people as our colleagues, as our fellow, ultimately as our fellow humanity. How people work hard to take care of themselves and take care of the association, the institution they work for. And with that, how they contribute to the wider society. So this is what we will be doing this evening. You can start your meditation now. Mainly spend about half of the time on yourself. We have about 20 minutes. Self-karuna is very important. ဒီနေ့ည mudita အကြောင်းဆက်မယ် mudita အကြောင်းဆက်ခင်မှာ ကျေးဇူးတော်ရှင်မိုင်းဘုံဆရာတော်ဘုရားနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့နည်းနည်းလေးပြောပြခြင်းတယ် ဒီနေ့ကဆရာတော်ရဲ့တက္ကရာရင်တယောက်ရောက်လာတယ်ပြီးခဲ့တဲ့3-4 ရက်ကဆရာတော်ရှိတဲ့ကူကိုသွားပြီးတော့သူတို့ကဆရာတော်အတွက်တည်တည်တွေနောက်ပြီးတော့မုတ်တွေသွားလှူဒန်းတာပေါ့ဘန်တကူနဲ့လှူဒန်းနေရာတနေရာမှာခြားတာဆရာတော်နဲ့တော့တိုက်ရိုက်မတွေ့ရဘူးဒါပေမဲ့ဆရာတော်တရင်သုံးနဲ့အထက်ကူပဲကူမှာအထက်ကူနဲ့အောက်ကူအဲ့လိုရှိတယ်အများပြောတာတော့တနာရီကြောကြားတယ်လို့ဟောပါကွာဝေးတယ်လို့ပြောပါတယ်အဲ့မှာသူတို့လှူစရာရှိတာတွေစာလေးရေးပြီးတော့လှူထားတယ်ဆရာတော်လည်းပဲစွန့်စရာရှိတာတွေစာရေးပြီးတော့ပြန်စွန့်ထားတယ်အဲ့ဒီလို15 ရက်တစ်ချိန်သွားကြတယ်ဆရာတော်ခွင့်ပြုတဲ့ကပ္ပိယ4 ယောက်ရဲ့15 ရက်တစ်ပတ်တာဝန်အဲ့ဒီမှာတယောက်ကဘ bông xì la bị đó xe rồi à tình ngàn đất sâu này tình ngàn đất sâu này nào gì đi nào bị đó xa đi nên này đi bông mồ lù lại đây chào anh tôi nói lù lại bông mồ này xe rồi go sao đi lù lại tôi nói sao thì tao bộ bị tất cả các nuôi thế thì tình ngàn này anh tao bộ bị anh tôi nóiผ่านเจ้านั้นประเทศพิโรพิโรสุขุFacebook ပေါ်မှာ internet ပေါ်မှာတချို့ပြောနေကြတဲ့တဲ့တခုခေါ်လာတာတခုမိုင်းဘုံဆရာတော်ဘုရားကအရေးကြီးလို့အဋ္ဌံဖြတ်ပြီးခုအပြင်ဘက်ကိုထွက်လာပြီးတော့ခုအပြင်ဘက်ကိုထွက်လာပြီးတော့လာမှားတယ်တဲ့မှားကြတယ်တပည့်တွေကိုမှားကြတယ်။တံမြတ်ဒီ5လုံးနဲ့စီဒီ5လုံးဖျားလူပါအခုဖြစ်ပေါ်နေတဲ့virus ယောဂါတွေ coronavirus ယောဂါတွေကာကွယ်နိုင်လိမ့်မယ်ပျောက်ကင်းလိမ့်မယ်အဲ့ဒီလိုခေါ်လာတာဖြစ်တယ်။ဒီအနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဘုံဘုံအမြင်နေနေတော့ဒါမမှန်ဘူးလို့ယူဆပါတယ်တတိချယူဆပါဒီเจ้าနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဆရာတော်မိန်ဆရာရှိတယ်ဆိုရင်ဘုံဘုံတို့လည်းမိတ်ပါတယ်ဘာမှမမိတ်ပါမဲယုံနေမကောင်းပြီးခဲ့တဲ့10နှစ်က10နှစ်တော့မကတော့ပြီးခဲ့တဲ့17နှစ်ကမိုင်းဘုံဆရာတော်ကြီးဒီလိုပဲခုထဲမှာ3နှစ်3လ3ရက်ရက်ရှိတပါးလည်းခုထဲမှာအဋ္ဌံဝင်ပါသေးတယ်အဲ့ချိန်တုန်းကကောလာလာကဒီလိုအသီးတွေမဟုတ်ပါဘူးအဲ့တော့ကတော့ကျဲဥအဖြူတဲ့ကျဲဥအဖြူစားကြပါအဲ့ဒီလိုကောလာလာတွေဖြစ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်ကျဲဥဖြူတွေရှိသမျှမလောက်ဘူးနော်ဝယ်စားကြတယ်ဝယ်ပြီးတော့လက်ဆောင်တွေပေးကြတယ်အဲ့ဒါနဲ့ဆရာတော်ရဲ့အနည်းနဲ့တပည့်တွေကဆရာတော်ကြီးအဒါမျိုးမိတ်လည်းမရှိပါဘူး။ဘာဖြစ်လို့ဒီလိုသတင်းတွေဖြစ်နေတာပါလဲဆိုပြီးတော့သိချင်လို့ဆရာတော်တကယ်ညမိတ်လာဆရာတော်ကိုစာရေးပြီးတော့ရှောက်တာဆရာတော်ကစကားမပြောအတွေ့လည်းမခံဘူးဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီလို15ရက်တစ်ကြိမ်အစာအာဟာရတောင်းပြီးတော့လှူဒန်းတဲ့အခါမှာစာလေးထားခဲ့လို့ကတ်ခဲ့လို့ရတယ်အဲ့ဒီအာဟာရတွေနဲ့တူအဲ့ဒီမှာဆရာတော်အဲ့ဒီစာကိုဖတ်မိတယ်ဒါပြီးခဲ့တဲ့နှစ်ကစင်ကာပူကနေပြီးတော့ဆရာတော်နဲ့အတူပြန်လာတဲ့အခါမှာဆရာတော်ကပြောပြတာဘုံဘုံပြောပြတာကားပေါ်မှာပြောပြဆရာတော်နဲ့အတူမလေးရှားကားနဲ့ကြွားတယ်စင်ကာပူကားနဲ့ပြန်ကြွားလာတယ်အဲ့ဒါမျိုးပေါ့ကားပေါ်မှာစကားတွေပြောရင်အဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းစကားဆက်ပြီးလို့ဆရာတော်ကြီးမိတ်မိုင်းဖို့ဆရာတော်ကြီးမိတ်စာတစောင်ရောက်လာတယ်တဲ့အဲ့ဒါကျဲဥအဖြူစားရမယ်ပေးရင်ခင်းဖို့အတွက်နောက်အလိုပြည့်ဖို့အတွက်အဲ့လိုလုပ်မယ်ဆိုတော့ဟုတ်ပါသလားတပည့်တော်အပြင်မှာဒီလိုကြားနေတယ်လူတွေလည်းပဲအဲ့လိုပဲယုံတတ်ဝယ်စားနေကြတယ်ဆရာတော်အဲ့စာကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့တနာလဲတနာတယ်လူတွေအဲ့လိုကောလာလာတွေနဲ့နေကြတာခေါ်လာလာတွေယုံပြီးတော့ရှောက်လုပ်နေကြဒါမဲ့နောက်ဆုံးကြတော့ဆရာတော်ငါတရားချင်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ငါအတေထံဝင်နေတဲ့အချိန်အဲ့ဒါအားတယ်လို့ဝယ်စားဖို့တဲ့ဆရာတော်ကစိတ်ထဲမှာအဲ့လိုသူကသူပြောပြီးတော့အဲ့စာကိုမပြန်ဘူး ဆိုလိုတာကအဲ့ဒီလိုအပြင်ကပစ္စည်းတွေဆရာတော်ကညွှန်းလို့မရှိပါဘူးအမြဲတမ်းညွှန်းတာကတော့ဗုဒ္ဓနုတ္တိဘာဝနာလုပ်ပါဘုရားရှိခိုးပါဘုရားကုံတော်ပွားပါမေတ္တာပွားပါနောက်တစ်ခုကမရဏတတိပွားပါနောက်တစ်ခုအတုပဘာဝနာပွားပါနောက်တစ်ခုအနေစာဒုက္ခအနတ္တလက္ခဏာသုံးပါးပွားပါဒီ၅ခုအမြဲတမ်းဟောတယ်ပတိပဲစိတ်ပတိပဲသုံးပတိမသုံးတဲ့ကိစ္စမရှိဘူးပေးတဲ့ပတိကိုဒီကမ္မဋ္ဌာန်း၅ခုတည်းတစ်ခုခုမရွေးပဲနဲ့ပတိပဲချိတ်ထားတယ်ဆိုရင်ဆရာတော်ကဗာမိတ်ရှိအောင်ဆိုတချို့ကပတိချိတ်ထားတာပတိကပြတ်တော့ပြတ်နေပြီခေါင်းထဲကိုဘာဝနာတစ်လုံးမှမဝင်သေးဘူးမေတ္တာဘာဝနာလည်းမဝင်သေးဘူးဗုဒ္ဓနုတ္တိဘာဝနာလည်းမဝင်သေးဘူးလက္ခဏာသုံးပါးဆိုတဲ့ဝိပဿနာဘာဝနာလည်းမဝင်သေးဘူးမရဏတတိနဲ့အတုပဘာဝနာလည်းမဝင်သေးဘူးအဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ဆရာတော်နဲ့ပတ်သက်တဲ့ကောလာဟလတွေမယုံကြည်ပါနဲ့ဆရာတော်ကြီးခုတည်းဝင်ပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာတရားစာအုပ်တွေရေးပါတယ်9အုပ်ရေးပြီးပါပြီအဲ့ဒီထဲမှာလည်းပဲဒီအကြောင်းတွေမပါပါဘူးမေတ္တာပွားပြီးတော့အတတ်နိုင်ဆုံးတက်လို့စားကြပါအဲ့ဒါတွေပါတယ်ဘာဝနာပွားပါအဲ့ဒါတွေပါတယ်အချိန်မဖြုံးနဲ့ကိုယ်စိတ်ကိုဆုံးမှာပါအဲ့ဒါတွေပါတယ်လူဖြစ်ရတာအမှန်မှတန်ဖိုးရှိတယ်ကုသိုလ်ကံကောင်းတယ်အဲ့ဒါတွေပါတယ်ခဏခဏပါတယ်အပြင်ကပစ္စည်းတွေပါလှူပါဘာစားပါဆိုတဲ့ရတရားဆန်ဆန်မျိုးဆရာတော်ကမလုပ်ပါဘူးတခါမှလည်းပဲပေးတင်နေပါလေမကြည့်ပါဘူးဆရာတော်ဒါလေးစကားဆက်လို့ဒီနေ့ပြောပြချင်ပါတယ်အခုမုဒိတာဘာဝနာကိုဆက်ရမယ်ဆိုရင်ဒီနေ့လှုပ်ဖို့ကင်ဖက်အဓိကထားပြီးတော့မုဒိတာပွားပါပထမဆုံးပွားမှာတော့ကိုယ်ကိုပွားမှာပေါ့ကိုကြိုးစားခဲ့တာတွေကိုအောင်မြင်ခဲ့တာတွေတခါတခါကြိုးစားပြီးတော့မအောင်မြင်ဘူးအဲ့ဒါလည်းကိစ္စမရှိဘူးမကြိုးစားပဲနဲ့ဒီတိုင်းနေတော့အဲ့ဒီအခွင့်အရေးအခွင့်အလမ်းတွေဒီတိုင်းလက်လွတ်ဆုံးရှုံးသွားလို့နောင်တရတတ်တယ်။မကိုကကြိုးစားတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ဆိုရင်တော့ဘာမှနောင်တရဆက်မရှိဘူး။ကောင်းတာတွေကိုယ့်ရဲ့ဘဝထဲမှာပြန်တွေးပြီးတော့မုဒိတာဖြစ်ပါဝင်လေထွက်လေညင်ညင်သာသာလေးရှူရှိုက်ပြီးရင်ကိုယ်ဘဝထဲမှာဟိုကြောင်တက်တာစားပြီးတော့ကိုကြိုးစားခဲ့တာတွေကိုကြိုးစားခဲ့သလောက်အောင်မြင်ခဲ့တာတွေအောင်မြင်ခဲ့သလောက်ပြန်ပြီးတော့တွေးပါကိုဂုံယူပါပီတိဖြစ်ပါကိုကြိုးစားလို့ကိုရခဲ့တဲ့အောင်မြင်မှုတွေဖြစ်ပါတယ်ပညာရေးလူမှုရေးမိသားစုရေးရာနောက်ပြီးတော့ကုသိုလ်ရေးရာအဲ့ဒါတွေပြန်တွေးပါဒီရှမ်းပြည်နယ်ဗုဒ္ဓတက္ကသိုလ်ဟာကျောင်းသားကျောင်းသူယဟန်တော်တွေဆရာလေးတွေလူပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေနေနဲ့လည်းပဲဒီကျောင်းမှာဆိုရင်တခြားနေရာတဲ့ကျောင်းတော်များများလည်းပို့ပြီးတော့ကြိုးစားရတယ်ဆိုတာဒါကျောင်းဖွင့်လာတာ၄နှစ်ရှိပြီဆိုတော့တည်နေကြပြီကြိုးစားတဲ့ဟာတွေကိုယ့်အဖို့ပြန်စဉ်းစားပြီးတော့ဘယ်လိုစာကြည့်တယ်ဆရာနဲ့ဘယ်လိုတွေ့တယ်စူပါဗိုက်ဆာနဲ့ဘယ်လိုတွေ့တယ်ဘယ်လိုပြန်ပြီးတော့ထပ်ကြိုးစားတယ်အဲ့ဒါမျိုးတွေစဉ်းစားပါအုပ်ချုပ်ရေးပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာဝေယဝိဇ္ဇပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာဆိုရင်အဲ့ဒါတွေကြိုးစားနေစဉ် လုပ်နေတာနဲတာမှမဟုတ်တာနဲတဲ့ကုသိုလ်တွေမဟုတ်ဘူးကိုယ့်ကိုမုဒိတာဖြစ်အဲ့လိုမုဒိတာဖြစ်ပြီးဆိုရင်တစ်ပတ်လောက်ဆိုတာကဒီတရားတစ်ပတ်ကိုပြောတာရက်တစ်ပတ်ပြောတာမဟုတ်ပါဘူး10မိနစ်လောက်ကိုကျန်စားပြီးတော့10မိနစ်လောက်ကိုမုဒိတာပွားတရားသွားထိုင်တာရောဒီကြောင့်မှဆိုတစ်နှစ်ကိုကျောင်းသားကျောင်းသူတွေနဲ့တစ်နှစ်ကိုနှစ်ကြိမ်တရားသွားထိုင်ခိုင်းတယ်တရားသွားထိုင်တဲ့အခါအဲ့ဒါတရားထိုင်တဲ့ကြိုးစားပြီးတော့ထိုင်ခဲ့တာတွေရောအကုန်လုံးပြန်တွေးပြီးတော့မုဒိတာဖြစ်ပါနောက်ပြီးရင်ဘာမုဒိတာပွားစေခြင်းလို့ဆိုကိုယ့်ရဲ့လှုပ်ဖို့ခံဖက်တယ်အတန်းဖို့အတန်းဘက်တွေပါဝင်အတူတူဆောင်းထဲမှာနေရတာတွေရောနောက်ပြီးတော့ဒီတဲ့တူမှာ conference ခဏခဏဖြစ်ပါတယ်9လတစ်ကြိမ်6လတစ်ကြိမ်အဲ့ဒါမျိုးတွေဖြစ်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါမျိုးတွေလုပ်ဖြစ်တယ်ကျင်းပဖြစ်တယ် conference တွေလုပ်တဲ့အခါမှာအကုန်လုံးကဝိုင်းဝန်းလုပ်ရတယ်နေ့စဉ်လည်းပဲဒီလိုလုပ်ဖို့ခံဘက်တွေရှိတယ်အဲ့ဒီ conference တွေလုပ်တဲ့အခါလည်းပဲရှိတယ်လုပ်ဖို့ခံဘက်မိဖို့ချောင်းထဲမှာဆိုရင်မိဖို့ချောင်းအလျောက်ရုံးလုပ်ငန်းဆိုရင်ရုံးလုပ်ငန်းအလျောက်စာကြည့်တိုင်းဆိုရင်စာကြည့်တိုင်းအလျောက်အဲ့လိုလုပ်ဖို့ခံဘက်တွေရှိတယ်အဲ့ဒါသူတို့တူးချင်းစီရဲ့ကောင်းကွက်လေးတွေစူးစမ်းမှုလေးတွေအဲ့ဒါတွေပြန်တွေးပါသူတို့အလုပ်ရဲ့အရေးပါပုံလေးတွေပြန်တွေးပါဒီလိုမတွေးဘူးဆိုရင်အတူတူအလုပ်လုပ်နေပေမဲ့သူတို့အကြောင်းမသိတဲ့အခါကျတော့သစိမ့်လို့ဖြစ်နေတယ် emotion စိတ်ခံစားမှုသစိမ့်လို့ဖြစ်နေ emotion အရာတယောက်ကိုတယောက်မသိဘူးနာမည်တော့သိနေမျက်နှာသိနေတယ်ဘယ်သူဘယ်ဝါဆိုတော့သိနေတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ emotion အရာတယောက်နဲ့တယောက်မသိဘူးဝိသသာပရမညာတိဓမ္မဝရထဲမှာမြတ်စွာဘုရားမိန့်ထားတာ emotion အရာရင်းနှီးတဲ့အခါကျမှဆွေမျိုးလို့တယောက်နဲ့တယောက်တီးခတ်နိုင်တယ်ကုညီခြင်းတယ်အကျိုးကိုလိုလားပါတယ်မောင်နှမချင်းဖြစ်သည့်တိုင်ဆရာတပည့်ချင်းဖြစ်သည့်တိုင်အဲ့ဒီလိုမုဒိတာမပွားဘူးဆိုရင်ကောင်းတာတွေမမြင်ဘူးကောင်းတာမမြင်တဲ့အခါကျတော့နည်းနည်းလေးကိုယ်စိတ်တိုင်းမကြဘူးဆိုရင်စိတ်ပြက်ပြီးဆိုရင်တယောက်ကိုတယောက် negative အတွေးတွေမကောင်းမြင်တာတွေပဲဖြစ်တော့တယ်အလွယ်တကူစိတ်ဝင်ကွယ်နိုင်တယ်တယောက်ကိုတယောက်သိမခံနိုင်တော့ခန္တီပါရမီမရှိဘူးနည်းနည်းလေးစကားပြောတာစမပြေတာနဲ့ရှေ့ဆက်ပြီးတော့ပြောလို့မရတော့သိခံမှုမရှိတော့ဘူးဆိုရင်အုပ်စုတွေအများကြီးဖြစ်သွားမှာပေါ့အမေရိကန်နိုင်ငံအဲ့လောက်ထိကြီးတာလူဦးရေလည်းမြန်မာဖြစ်တဲ့9ဆ6ဆပိုများတယ်နိုင်ငံရေးပါတီ2ခုပဲရှိတယ်တခါထပ်ပြီးတော့လှုပ်ဖို့လေကြိုးစားလူတွေနောက်2ခုအဲ့ဒါမျိုးတွေဒါပေမဲ့အဓိက2ခုပဲရှိတယ်ဘုံဘုံတို့နိုင်ငံမှာယူကပွဲကာလဆိုရင်ပါတီပေါင်း100ကျော်လောက်ရှိတယ်ရေးချက်တွေလည်းတူကြတယ်အများစုဒါပေမဲ့တယောက်နဲ့တယောက်ဒီလိုမုဒိတာနဲ့ကြည့်တဲ့အမြင်လေးမရှိတဲ့ခါကျတော့တူကိုတူယုံကြည်မှု trust ဆိုတာ machine I know. Tanjamolo mudita de yejibare. Ko a lawyer same so on same piano. Mudita ga kuni pebane. Turubari, Almian nine, Turubari, Chuzare. Koya said him, Piashimuri Piede. Paratan Pati. Turubai, Piso Mugo. Adiga Tabare, the Ayom Pubai, the Karun, and the Mudita. Mudita, Malona Musoyan, Almian Lune, Duidan, Chuzare, Lune, Duidan. Ko say time, my child say the pit. Name it time of that pit, Tema Muri pit. Now, Joe Miatamala, to Miata Pobiro. Tu got not have Pobiro to Miaga, Tima Pumala. Now, Lily shook hand of Mala. Lud low to low, Pit nine Bamala. I don't tell say the pit. The Lud died at the Bawa. A deep Mishibu, a soyin, Angel. A Tisuraka, go a Tima Pura Jora. A Tisure, Poco. Lujin Tide, go a Tima Pura Poco, I Poco, a Tilo. Saying at him, saying him at hell. Pamsilo saying him at hell. Go a Tima Pura. Go Jozamu, go Kauna Lotari. Go yet dreaming. Ariario. A Tima Pura Poco, so ye. Wait, Tata Paramanya did hang about. Yinimu, sick hands are moving, and Yinimu mentioned I know. Tanjang, SSBU Dhamma, Shide, Taunggyi, Sayalidi, Dubogo, Wunandi, Sensiamari, Tiabidiaji, Bimudida Papa, Tidema Sondagari Pare, Yaniya with Sondagari Pare, Trumianari Mami and G. Bido, Mudida Papa. Not a 7 minutes. They are time on. change CPRP. Now the time is up. It's time to dedicate our practices to the triple gems and liberation, then share our good deeds with all living beings. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipadiya Buddha Bhuje Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipadiya Dhamma Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipadiya Sangha Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipadiya Jadi Maranama Padimudisami Idame Bunya Asawakaya Wahang Hodu Idame Bunya Nibbanasa Pacayu Hodu Bunya Bhagan Tabasatana Dema Pumacima Kusumitina Miyaminam Haukasataka Laisan Paramimam Đăng sinh đăng lông nai Chim bi chim sa Chim sát chim khôn Quỷ nì á sát cha hòa Nai sát cha hòa la Ananda sát cha hòa la Đăng sinh Hôm chốt Sa thu anumodana Lai hát cu sơ ban ly Phèn bên gắn sinh sinh Sơ khăn lôi tham Sa thu Sa thu Sa thu Tha nạp nha Si la nha Bhavana nha Hậu giáo khăn Đăng sinh đăng lông Dạ đô hồn đô hạ Hiếm âm lai Côn hiếm âm lai Sát đà hòa hiếm âm laiย้อน บากพังไว้ในมาโคใจเฮาค่ะเดียวศึกษาอามาตานิพพานะที่ขัดแย้งสายคำเลยตาสาธุสาธุสาสาธุวันดามิพันติสัพพังอภาราตังข้ามาธรรมิพันติมายานังบุญยังสามินะอนุโมทิตาปังสามินะกตังบุญญามะทัพพังสาธุสาธุอนุโมทามิวันตาปันติอภิวาทนาสิริสานิจังวุฒปัจจายโน Cattaro Dhamma Vaddhanti Ayuwano Sukhang Phala พระมีสั่งใครถามสั่งกันเลยภายใต้ภายมันกันเลยเอาเป็นเจ้าข่าว
Good evening, Sayadaw. When Sayadaw asked us to contemplate on mudita, on ourselves and people around us, so I started in SSBU. I felt like every day, even like only this week, I started to learn mudita meditation. But I do not know why. That because it has been a very long time that I have like it is a normal in a daily life that we have this kind of contemplation. Like every day when you wake up, then I start to see I have to go to washroom, I have to brush my teeth, go to toilet, and I'm ready to do that. There's a place to go to toilet, and then when I go to bed at night, I sleep on the bed and everything. So thankful that this university gives me a place that I have a bed I can sleep. I have a shelter. And then in the morning when I go to breakfast, I do not need to do anything. I mean the kitchen staff like Maytao and the chef, they wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and they prepare the food. When sound cook, ring a bell, I just come sit down and have my food. People do everything, you know, and then if I go to library to study, the place is clean, the venerable every morning, he switch on the switch for boil the water and then he start to clean every table. Then I'm thinking, every day I receive so many things from people, then what can I give to them in return? So it becomes a habit that I think I get to know Buddhism at my age of 26 in Malaysia. So it is an Islam country, so not everyone knows about Buddhism. So when I heard about that, and then like since my ordination, I always think it is difficult to hear about the Buddha Dhamma. So now I heard about it, I should appreciate it. And it changed my life a lot. So how I appreciate it? I should very honest to myself in my practice. If I found that I have defilement, I should talk to my teacher, like my meditation teacher, and then I should overcome the defilement. I should not like cover it and hide myself that I'm a very good person. So if I do not do in that way, then I felt that I'm not observed for people to give offering and do so much thing for you. You do nothing. That's what I think of myself. People do so many things for you. For example, one day I saw an uncle. He was carrying the gas, you know, for cooking. And then that was so heavy for him. And then I'm thinking, this uncle, his age is similar to my father. And I'm thinking, why these people work so hard and they give offering for you, for your food, for your robe. to my mind. So, like our devotees, here we have winter, and when the time comes, the devotees, they are really kind. They bring salt, they give this and that, clothes. Then they are like our parents at home, though they are devotees, they take good care of us. And when I receive this thing every day, and then I think, what can I do for these people? I'm a nun, so I should practice law and be honest in my practice. So, and I believe strongly that the Dhamma that the Buddha taught us can solve our life problem. So that medicine, when I have difficulty in my life, in my non-life, for example, so I should take the teaching and how can overcome my suffering and my problem. If the Dhamma doesn't work, cannot help to reduce or solve my life problem, and then I do not see why I become a man. And I strongly believe that the Dhamma could help, could work in that way. And only when I apply that Dhamma to solve my problem and have experience on that, how I could solve my problem, then only I can teach the devotees, the friends around, how to solve their problem when they have. If I just learn from the books, then I think I tell them again the same thing from the book. It might not work, not efficient. So, to think about mudita, about people around, there are so many, it's countless. So, sometimes, like morning when I wake up, then if I want to be lazy in one day, it's difficult because people do so much thing for you every day. How could you stop in your work, in your practice? Thank you.
Ok. ปิดบันทินนะสักครู่สิครับไปข่าวว่าสั่ง เข้าห้องน้ำห้องถ้วยเหล็กทำภาษาอังกฤษพอมีข้อถาม and comment.
Any comments?
We want to thank to Sally here that when I meditate just now, I start to remember the first week when we reached here after registration, the first week when we reached here. And then because of the first night, I do not know about the window and the up, not closed. So at the night time when I sleep, the window is not closed. So I have skin sensitive all the time. So I think maybe there is some insect flying at the night when I sleep. So I got allergy. Then it started to spread the whole body. And then after a few days, PR came. Then the second week, it started to spread the whole body and my back, and I couldn't put medicine at the back. So I talked to Pia. I said I have skin allergy. And then she said, maybe I have, the Chinese, one kind of like tea flower. And then she had that. She said, that maybe work. So we tried. I said, but I can't reach my back. Then she said, let me see. So she helped me to clean that flower to stop the corrosion. She helped me to clean. Then that's better, not so itchy because it's spread the whole body. I didn't take the penicillin, the medicine to suppress my immune system, so it won't spread. Because medicine is not good for the kidney, so I try not to take that. Every time when I have serious allergy, I have to take the medicine only it will stop spreading whole again a lot. So I remember that Sayadaw Ven very kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I may have a question and also comments. And when we practice this kind of meditation, side by side we see that. On the other hand, also we see the gratitude, and on the other hand also we feel that sympathy. But in my opinion, this is also we should have, I think, what could we say, a comprehension or mindfulness or what is it? Because now what we practice in the fourth stage, first is ourselves, and then our kids and kin, and then common people and opposite ones. So I also have my waking memory to contemplate this kind of joyfulness on the common people. So sometimes I lose it. So yes.
If you have a problem with the third group, remember to always come back to yourself. Number one is like home. Number one, like home. So when we get lost, we should return home. We should start from home again. Then, if you strengthen your joyful feeling with yourself, then you go again, trying to connect with the third group, with people who are not related to you, people maybe who haven't done anything for you. You look at them, you're trying to look at them. We don't really need to think very hard. If we think too hard, that would become abstract. That's not emotional development anymore. In the course of building this university now, from day one, from the time we started digging the ground, it's about 5.5 years. And from the day we Sangha took over everything is for 4 years and 2 months. Because we started with 0, and you yourself and Lankara, okay, you have been part of this. Actually, you were the one who found this place, who ensured that Panyapodi Sayadaw donated this piece of land to this project. But during these 5.5 years, there were times that some people, some officials, some donors, that they became unhappy. You see, that it is very difficult to avoid this. So for me this evening, I started from scratch, the way I do mudita. If I find something if I find it difficult to connect, to feel mudita, then I can see there is tension. After recognizing tension, I come back to myself. Okay, how much I wanted this university to be here. I have been thinking about it since 1993. 1993. It took more than 20 years, 21 years to actually have this, to materialize. Then with that joy for myself, with that mudita for myself, I go back to the person again. And I can see that I have no more fear to actually acknowledge their contribution fully. This is the people not in the third category that you raise, but in the category, sometime in the second, sometime in the fourth. Now, when it comes to the third one, when I started from something indirectly related to us. We have monthly donors, we have some companies, some small and big companies, and we have some business people from Yangon, Mandalay, who take care of us. It's easy to connect to those benefactors, but we usually forget their staff who work hard. So I actually go to them. I actually try to connect with them. And with that, then I also try to connect with people. Okay, we say if we from here we go to the airport, people we just find okay on the street, who have nothing to do with this, who have never been here, okay, and try to find something in them to appreciate. I see some people working for their family, to feed their family. I see children going to school just to prepare for their future. And I can see some of the teachers as well going to school. And if we spend enough time on ourselves, we would be able to connect with them easily. Yeah. We don't really need to know them personally and their background either. Yeah. I don't know if you have this experience. I broke my leg twice. So whenever I see you walking properly, there's a lot of joy. Yes, Yeah.
he will be the student
Yeah.
that and he will come and see how we present. So you say you try to develop, cultivate mudita on the professor,
Yeah.
so that you have no fear.
Yeah.
How does it work?
First, I want to tell you the first paper I gave. Okay, I was first year PhD student at Oxford. In that year, the International Association of Buddhist Studies, IABS, based in Switzerland, they rotate their meeting every 2 years. And that year it happened to be in Bangkok. For 10 minutes paper, you need to present something new. So I took out a bit of information from my thesis and I practiced. I went to my academic English teacher. First, I worked on the text, and I read in front of him. He just listened as an audience. Then he said, "Okay, wait, I'm lost." So when the connection is not good, when he is lost, when he tells me that, then I would think again. So that way I improved my paper. I even went to Cambridge. I had one lady professor who was kind enough to read this and then to listen to me. I actually time it and then I read it. I worked so hard for that paper, for the first paper. So I did mudita on myself, how much effort I put into. And the information, how many books I read. And that. So I did mudita for myself. Then, when we went to Bangkok, he came to listen to my paper actually was not as good as I would have hoped. But good enough for people for the organizer to accept it. And Princess Siriton from Thailand, she looked at the title and she was interested. She also came to listen to my paper. Unfortunately, the moderator, a French professor, he changed everything. He changed the order. He didn't follow the printed order. So when the princess and my professor were sitting there, and they were surprised that I didn't speak, that I would become number 2 instead of number 1. But nevertheless, that moment, gave me a lot of mudita. That, I was able to interest the princess and my professor was there. So I didn't care who else was there. And another time, 2 years later, at London University, I had to speak. Now my professor, he was the moderator, and he introduced me. He gave a very nice introduction, although I was just his student. And the paper he knew because he had read many times as part of my thesis, but he didn't see this paper yet. This particular paper, which is self-contained, it has to be self-contained to be a content paper. Then I saw him, treating me respectfully. As although we are so young as a scholar, he treated us nicely, and I was so grateful for him. That's mudita. The fact that they recognize us, the fact that they give us encouragement whenever they can. So I just feel a lot of mudita. So with that, whenever he gave me negative criticism, okay, I was able to take it and didn't get discouraged because of that mudita. Yeah.
Can we say that mudita is have a connection with the gratitude, and the excitement has another
I'd like to say, okay, your question is if mudita has something to do with gratitude. You can see the qualities listed in the Metta Sutta. Gratitude, simple way of life, not being fussy, and not being irritated easily. Those qualities, I want to assure you that once you get your mudita going, you get the momentum, all those qualities, they will come. They will come. Like Ms. Alessandra Mehta was saying, you can talk about, you can describe what she says as gratitude, but on the other hand, there's contentment also. There's contentment what they are being provided, and you can also see whenever there are things that don't meet their expectation, and they have resilience to actually take this. So, in that sense, mudita is in some way is a well-rounded emotion in itself. Anathapindika, when he first met the Buddha, even when he heard the name of the Buddha, okay, he developed mudita already. With mudita, he went to see the Buddha. He actually attained some spiritual achievement before his brother-in-law, who was to introduce him to the Buddha. How mudita is very powerful. We like to think that because we are kind of very orientated towards vipassana, insight meditation. We think this form of meditation is secondary. We usually downgrade this kind of practice. We downgrade. We underestimate its qualities. I mentioned the other day, if you believe in the life story of the Buddha, before he became Buddha, okay, he had self-doubt. Self-doubt in, I translated this way psychologically. I mean, when the army of Mara came and attacked him, internally you can interpret this as self-doubt. The last bit of Mara inside, Kilesa Mara, that's the devil of defilement inside, was rearing its head. And outside is symbolized as the army of Mara, Deva Buddha Mara, but inside it was Kilesa Mara. How did he counter that threat? You can say internal and external. If you believe the story that he touched his fingers, he touched He touched the ground with his fingers, recollecting his past paramis. That is, all the enlightening quality that he had accumulated. I consider this to be mudita. To be mudita. And in the 7 factors of enlightenment, it came as a piti. So now, in this short session, because it's not a meditation retreat, we don't distinguish between pamoja, between piti, between mudita. We don't distinguish. Of course, in the Buddha, you can say at that moment it was Dhamma piti. There's, joy or rapture that came out of a lot of concentration plus mudita. So he was challenged that he didn't deserve this throne, this enlightenment throne, and he said, "Yes, actually, I deserve it because I had accumulated, I had done this much, this and this much, and good deeds in the past, many past lives." When he recollected that, he recollected his past. We are told that the one goddess, became a witness. If you forget about the external symbolism, including that goddess, what you have inside is mudita. Another Pali word is anumodana, that's rejoicing in the good deeds once again. Is that powerful? He was abandoned at that time by the 5 friends. But that didn't matter because he was able to inspire himself with mudita. So when you go through a hard time, just reconnect with your good past. Then you will be able to inspire yourself and go through that. At this point in time, in the world, we are facing coronavirus. Remember, as a world community, we have defeated many deadly diseases. Of course, each time, there will be something to pay. There will be lives lost. But in the end, human endeavor, human compassion, human empathy, human wisdom will prevail. Okay. You have something to say? Sally? Okay.
Thank you very much for your devout teaching, Sayadaw. Today I'd like to talk about today's practice. So today's practice is more specific, I think, because we have, most of the time, we have difficulties with among the people whom we are meeting every day. So, knowingly or unknowingly, we have problems. Me, I practiced Chitta Vipassana for many years. So my problem is, I check my mind and I automatically check the other's mind. Most of the time, whenever I meet with the people. Then, the thing is, like, if I have a strong wisdom and concentration, then I can see the reality and I can let them go. But if I'm weak in concentration, I'm so busy, I'm stressful, then when I see the other people's mind, I automatically react. Like I know, even though they are smiling, but I know inside. Because I'm used to look at the heart, only the heart, not the outside appearance. So, the thing is like, if I see the one's mind, then if I don't like, then I step back and I just stay myself and something like that.
You withdraw.
Yeah, I withdraw from, because I don't want to have any akusala. If I forward, then I have akusala. So now you're teaching us mudita meditation. Then my practice is now changed, and I focus more on how I have to look at in a good way. I don't look at their mind is good or bad, so I look at the goodness in everybody. So I feel like I'm more connected.
Yeah.
I have no barriers.
Yeah.
I can smile very wholeheartedly to people. And I can see, everybody has friends. Everybody has the better qualifications than me. So I can appreciate more. And these days, like 2 or 3 days only. So I can confess that my practice is not very strong yet, but I can start to feel that, life is really good. And I can be happy with myself and with everybody. So now I understand this. It just looks like similar to Buddha meditation, like you said just now. It's very similar.
Yeah. I want to share with you, just before I submitted my PhD at Oxford, and I had already started the Oxford Buddha Vihara. So at that time, it was so hectic. Then, because I was almost, reaching the end of my study, at that moment, I came to know many established scholars, and they also came to know, and I got many invitations to give papers, like from Stanford, from New York, American Association of Asian Studies, and from within the UK, Asia, like this. And because I never had that kind of invitation, many at the same time. I took as many as possible the opportunity to present papers. So, when I went to America, people over there, they heard me going there. Buddhist Society at Harvard, and Burmese study at Arizona University, and Chicago University. And they all, I was a student, they all invited me to give either a talk or a paper. Then I went to all of them, including Cornell. And I never had a rest for the whole month in America. I covered 9 states. What happened was that I damaged my voice. I damaged my voice. Then when I went back to Oxford, my GP, my doctor, it could be throat cancer. So when he said that, okay, now I couldn't actually focus anymore. When I meditated, I looked into my mind, if that was fear. I couldn't see fear clearly because fear was disguising itself. I had a lot of dreams. I want to do this, I want to do this. I have a long list of to-do list, including this university. And I think for about 5 days, my mind was very restless. I was just focusing on what I want to do, meaning what I have not done, what is not in my hand. And then, after 5 days of many short meditation sessions, I came to discover fear. And that fear was associated with the future. So I switched my mind to the past. Okay, even if I die now with this cancer, I have already done this, I have achieved this. I have a long list of things that I could be proud of. Then the mind, started becoming, started getting settled and calm and peaceful. Then that didn't matter anymore. If I have 2 more days, 2 more weeks to live, at that moment, I was happy. I was happy. And because in the UK we don't have to pay for hospital visit, is a welfare state. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that you have to wait a long time, 3 months, to see a consultant. And when one of my devotees, who was a GP from London, when he heard that, no, you shouldn't wait. You come to London, there is a special, there are many private clinics. It's called Harley Street in London. It's full of consultants. The next day he got me an appointment. I went there. And he said he would pay for it, he would send a check later. So I paid 200 pounds. I got checked by a consultant, an ENT consultant. So there is nothing wrong. You exhausted yourself, so you need to rest. He didn't take the money also. He told his secretary to return the money. But even before that, I had already become myself once again, at peace once again. I was able to accept the uncertainty that might come. So in that sense, mudita also helps us, to accept the pain of death, the painful experience of death. Yeah. I mentioned the other day that my mother, when she was in severe pain, she was thinking about her meditation practice in Bodh Gaya. So mudita is that strong.
So may I speak in Myanmar because
Okay.
I'd like to share my feelings.
Okay, yeah.
တပည့်တော်ကဆရာတော်ကိုရှောက်ပါတယ်ဗျ။ဆရာတော်ကတပည့်တော်တို့ဒီဆရာတော်ကျောင်းမှာနေတဲ့အချိန်တွေမှာဟောရတာလေးညနာလေးမိတ်လေးပါတပည့်တော်ရှောက်ပါတယ်ဗျ။ဆိုတော့အခုတပည့်တော်ပထမတော့ဒါမုဒိတာကမ္မထံကိုပွားနေကြတာပေါ့။ဒါပေမဲ့တစ်ဖက်မှာတပည့်တော်တို့ကြားထဲကစိတ်ထဲကဖြည့်ဆည်းမှုတွေနောက်ပြီးတော့အချင်းချင်းကြားထဲမှာဖြစ်နေပူထုံးလေးတွေတပည့်တော်ကအခုဖြည့်ပြီးသားဖြစ်တယ်လို့ဖြစ်တယ်။တစ်ဖက်ကတရားထိုင်တဲ့အတွက်ကုသိုလ်တွေရတယ်။နောက်တစ်ဖက်ကတပည့်တော်တို့အချင်းချင်းတွေ့တာအရင်ကဆိုရင်တပည့်တော်အချိန်ကမရှိကြဘူးဗျ။ကိုယ်စားခေါင်းထဲမှာတခုခုမေးရင်ဘုံဘုံ ISC ဆိုတာတန်းထွက်လာ။တပည့်တော်မေးရင်တပည့်တော် brief ပဲထွက်လာတယ်။အဲ့လိုဆိုတော့ကြောင်းနဲ့ကြောင်းတွေ့တယ်အာရုံမစိုက်ဖြစ်ဘူးဗျ။အဲ့လို၆သက်ကြီးပေါ့ဗျ။တပည့်တော်အဲ့လိုခံစားရတယ်။ကျေးဇူးတင်တာတွေ connection မရှိကြပြည့်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်အခုဆိုရင်တပည့်တော်လက်တွေ့ပေါ့ဗျာဒီတရက်နေ့ရဲ့အတွင်းမှာစိတ်ကတော်တော်လန်းလန်းဆန်းဆန်းဖြစ်တယ်ပင်မနာတော့ပင်မနာပဲကိုယ်စာကိုလုပ်တယ်ပင်မနေဒါပေမဲ့ဒီလူတွေကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့အားလုံးကိုကြည့်ပြီးတော့တပည့်တော်သူတို့ရှိနေလို့တပည့်တော်တို့ဒီမှာရက်တည်လို့ရတယ်ပေါ့တူတယောက်ချင်းဒီကလေးတွေကစားပြီးအားလုံးတွေပြီးတော့ကျေးဇူးတင်ကြတယ်အဲ့တော့တပည့်တော်ချိန်မှာဒီလိုမျိုးတပည့်တော်အမြဲတမ်းဒီလိုအားထုတ်သွားမယ်ဆိုရင်stress တွေလည်းနည်းလာမယ်ပြီးရင်သူနဲ့တူကြားလေးမှာပို့ပြီးတော့ connection ရှိတာပေါ့ဆိုတော့တပည့်တော်အဲ့ကြော်တယ်ဆရာတော်ကျေးဇူးကြီးပါတယ်ဗျာဒါဆရာတော်ရဲ့ဩဝါဒကိုတပည့်တော်ခံယူပါတယ်
ဆရာလေးက psychology နဲ့စာတန်းရေးနေတဲ့ခံကြတော့ဒီဟာကလေသူကမုဒိတာများများလုပ်ရင်အခုမျက်စိထဲမှာမြင်အောင်ကြည့်နော် heal ဆိုတဲ့ဟာလေနော်ပြန်ပြီးတော့ trauma ကို healing လုပ်တာလေ HEAL ဒါကDr. Rick Hanson သူရဲ့ hardwired happiness ဆိုတာအုံနောက်ကိုပြောင်းစေတဲ့မုဒိတာအဲ့တောင်သူရေးတာအဲ့ဒီစာအုပ်ထဲမှာအဲ့စာအုပ်ကဟိုထဲမှာလည်းရှိပဲ YouTube ထဲမှာလည်းရှိပဲ hardwired happiness ဒီစကားလုံး heal ဆိုတဲ့စကားလုံးသူက accurate လေးလုံးပါတာ H က have good experience အဲ့ဒါဘုံဘုံတို့ဆရာလေးတို့ကဒီမှာရှိနေ good experience ကအများကြီးပဲကိုအများကြီးတစ်သက်လုံးစူးစမ်းခဲ့တာလေဒါရှိတယ် good experience အဲ့ဒါဟုတ် my phone စာရဲ့ရေစက်ချနေဆိုကုသိုလ်မိတိနိုင်မိရမယ်ဆိုကုသိုလ်ပဲကြည်ပါကုသိုလ်ကိုစိတ် oriented လုပ်ပါပို့ပါ I have နောက် E ကတော့ enrich it enrich ဆိုတာအဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းများများတွေးပါအဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းများတွေးပါအဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းများများတွေးတာသူကဘာလို့မှအချိန်လေးပေးရတာအခုလက်ချောင်း6တဲ့ခါမှာဒီရေလေးတောက်ရတာဆိုရေလေးတောက်ပြီးအဲ့ဒီရေတောက်တဲ့အရာသာလေးကို4-5 second 10 second လောက်ခံစားပေးပါစိတ်ကိုချက်ချင်းတခြားနေရာကိုမပို့နဲ့ထမင်းစားရဆိုရင်ဖြည်းဖြည်းလေးဝါပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒီအရာသာလေးကိုစိတ်ပို့ပါအဲ့ကြတော့ A က absorb it have good experience enrich it absorb it now suddenly I will link it to negative one ကိုကမုဒိတာရဲ့အများရှိတဲ့ခံမှာ ဘဝမှာမပြည့်စုံတဲ့ဟာတွေ negative ဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာတွေ trauma တွေအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုပြန်ပြီးတော့တွေးရတယ်တွေးတဲ့ခါမှာလည်းပဲကိုကမုဒိတာဆိုရင်အင်အားနဲ့သွားတွေးတဲ့ခါကျတော့တုံ့လှုပ်ခြင်းမရှိတော့နောက်ပိုင်းကျတော့သူကဘာပြောဆိုအုံနောက်ထဲမှာဒီ negative bias ကအဲ့ဒါသူက negative ရဲ့ center အဲ့ဒီ negative ဖြစ်တာနောက်ပိုင်းကျတော့သူ positive ဖြစ်ပါလား positive ဖြစ်ပါလားအမိဂဒလာကလုံးဝအလုံးမလုံးတော့ဒီအနောက်တိုင်းမှာဒီရှေ့ကဒီ anterior cingulate cortex ဆိုတဲ့ဒီရှေ့ဟာပဲအားကောင်းသွားတာပေါ့ဒီ neurology နဲ့ပြောရင်အဘိဓမ္မာစကားနဲ့ပြောရင်ကုသိုလ်ကအားကောင်းသွားပြီးတော့နောက်ပိုင်းကျအကုသိုလ်ကမတိတာတော့အဲ့လိုဖြစ်သွားအကုသိုလ်တော့အကုန်လုံးရှိခဲ့တာပဲယန္တာဖြစ်မဲ့ပုံပေါ်လည်းအကုသိုလ်တွေရှိခဲ့တာပဲဟုတ်တယ်မလားဒါပေမဲ့ဒီလိုပဲကုသိုလ်ကိုများအောင်အချိန်တွေပေးpositive ဖြစ်တဲ့အရာတွေအချိန်ပေးပြီးတော့တွေးခြင်းအပြင်ဒီလိုမုဒိတာပွားခြင်းအပြင်ငယ်ကလေးကဖြစ်လာနိုင်စရာရှိတဲ့ trauma တွေရောကြီးမားဖြစ်တဲ့ trauma တွေရောအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုကုသနိုင် heal ဆိုတာလေကုသနိုင်ဒီကုသဟာကဒီ trauma ကတစ်ခါတူးချင်းနေဖြစ်တယ်တစ်ခါကျတော့မိသားစုနေဖြစ်တယ်တစ်ခ Kara John in it. John in it. Bessy John, Bessy John of Macau, who I say John trauma. How do you and better than young, better than Macau, Pemune, Pemune Lao. On the Chibu, Adam Ludi, Judge Lokan, Kama, who said him a little thing in a safety trauma winner. A little trauma winners when go was self confident champion. Permanently up your right hand, go your champions, the Mudita. The Mudita. I Mudita Shibis way now. The Cho Ludia, the Cho Council on the African Nangan Tidi. Udan so Tinang Andy, Tabiro, you at ma. Do much of Chidesara. Do your self confident young men. Young I look Mina, you, Poco to Ujin in a yo, John in a yo, Midansu in a yo, now Sonja Nangan in a yo, Shibu Luata. I had positive thinking, positive of the poverty, and yet, the junior that are Murida of Piolomia, the junior that are Karuna in it, or Pioli, during the Muridan in a Pioli. I've just wrong. English Sabi, English, Patamasibuera Sabiro, trauma Picari, Yai. Combon cake with cheapness way. Bajido, Minome a pega, anate. A time yet trauma sit down. Minome a pego, minome a coga, anate. Minome a cogo, minome anate. Lace elu anate nesoro. A young trauma pitabo, and a down. Muro, Majorum of you. Marabura man, do hound in it. Pini, Malone Chomuli, minome. Manly piano. That was psychology shoot on it, Gidali. And a down. Eddie trauma. Jolon and portrait. Jolon and portrait. Do a trauma, I don't know, be the English outma. Manly swing, the Nippon Chow say, Outpiece in Nippon, yeah, I don't know near. I don't near a catch. Nine China, nice in a camera. I'm at a Lurijibe. Yamananga. Nine Cha counter who to be saying, 3 alibis, Yamapigo. A primitive man. Anger is a deep. Anger is a co-op piano, self-critical pianino. Self-critical pianos are what Kulu and is a palomaro. We need to be kind to ourselves. Go commit that time. Go commit that time. Tali Nangan to a year. A Pomero. English are Leila can also in English are tweet. English are Talamatala. English are thankful to never. English are thankful and let Tatamo. English are thankful to Lulune, say hanging. And I'm your cheap hero. Pondo neck. Oh, my ladies about Premier League GS about Polomo GS. I how cheap hero, Yaman Polomo benching my Tigladia. Ange de Gataro, self-counted Monsieur Gataro. Anyhow, who pongo it in a balota, go nango, Jambido, bit there. The near international school lady go, for more, Piatana, do it down, Piatana and Chicken, do it down, do it below. Oh, time you, Tanare Karuna, say out, Timbira. Timbira, good and take Timbira. Below low pit or chow tank lady young line, Manapang are through young line, through level wine local. Tiglady tweeted. Tiglady, through IT savings are Yamajima IT Pajo, Pari, Paniari Manduri Pajo, or Pit. Tabi made chow dancer or English chow dancer, through. Oh, no, O Kurana Machitio. A Pima Madwina. Yamajima. To hacking delay she or in the Wi-Fi delivery of Jatana, she internet will of Jatana, she added me a gong shop Joe. Jatana identifying low I pay. So, what's your solution for America? We all move to America. American go piao clear pure. Era angere say American go tinji say Myanmar nango attend they say tinekua gaun it by me. Do weather. Oh, American go tinji that American go mudita piam. Mudita piam. Mudita sit down a tinji and the chassis. The chassis. Tata mudita a coup the nya new nananesi. Oh, gingernes we meta. Oh, cold red, permaso. A joke pit to me that cold red in Macau. The nang and low red. Look at a coup from anti-loan that was out not oka. Moody that time it is how in China. So I think this is all for this evening. So mudita for all your effort, for all your time and practice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.